double booked. And he came to the gates of Shepperton and was terrified of coming in, and he did this, he threw his beret, his famous cream beret, over the gates and did a voodoo charm to make sure we weren't going to really be nasty to him, I guess. So the afternoon was slim, but the wide shots are actually conducting the toilet. It was a lot smaller than him, actually. But,
I love things like that. I love things like that. I love things like that more.
That was one of the nicest things that happened.
Yeah, when Sophie did the introduction at the beginning, and she talked about how it sort of takes us back to Soho and takes us back to Notting Hill in the 50s, and then it just struck me that it's worth remembering that Soho and Notting Hill were both huge sets. The Soho set was built in studio in Shepperton, and Notting Hill was a sort of 5 or 6 acre set at the back lot of Shepperton, and they're the largest and most extraordinary sets that I've worked on, I think, ever, almost. I mean, certainly in this country.
There's a good story about the sets, actually. It was the oldest trick in the book. The film was going way over budget, not way over, but over budget.
Before we began.
And what the producers arranged was to withhold all of the invoices for the art departments until the film was finished.
Yeah, they
and so when those came in,
had a heart attack.
yeah, they said, don't mention it, we're $1 million over. Oh my God.
But then there was kind of like rumours which I've never asked this, and I hope you don't mind me asking this, Sandy, because I know each other. There was rumours whilst we were on set, because I was WC duty, which means weather cover, but it always made me laugh, because I would be there anyway, even if I wasn't used. So it was the most extraordinary summer. But there was all these rumours going around saying, it's overrun on Revolution. It's overspent on Revolution, so they're pulling the money on the sets. Is that just a rumour?
It overran, didn't it? But we didn't get any money from Revolution.
No, it wasn't Revolution. Because Revolution.
No.
It wasn't. That's just a rumour that went round at the time.
We got a good deal on the lighting. That was one of the only good deals.
Was that Lee Electric?
From Lee Electric, because we based the Notting Hill Street on the house where they grew up. That was the Lee brothers. So, in fact, we paid homage to their.
And that was another funny thing about watching it, was how many things you wove into it, which were of that time, of 1985. And also pertain to the 60s and to your London, to our London,
yeah.
You know, and so the actors that were in, so Jimmy Fox being in Performance, and then being in The Servant, and then being in this, and there was this, I mean, there was sort of all sorts of
Mandy Rice Davis,
amazing the way that
Alan Freeman.
Yeah. What's your
really naughty story I could tell, but I probably should.
No, you must.
That's what you should tell
Alan Freeman, right? I wanted him in the film. I don't know why. I found him so gauche, really. But I really wanted him in the film. But I wanted that thing when they pulled a toupee. He had a toupee, you know. His agent was really excited, but he read the script and said, "I'm not doing it. I'm not revealing it. I'm bald, you know." And they said, "You've got to go around and talk him into it." And so he lived in some mansion flat in Maida Vale. The doorman let me up, and I rang the bell. And there was this squealing and rushing around and rearranging. And I come in with like 4 young boys sitting around the coffee table. Nothing had happened. And Alan said, "I better do the film."
Otherwise, you'll sit in front of an audience and tell this story.
Yeah. But it's really him to those 2 islands of difference. In a sea of kind of white bread, London, Soho, and Notting Hill on some level, and about the emergence of youth culture in England and the arrival of the wonderful people from the Caribbean who changed London as we know it. So it was an attempt to take the musical form, which was always very far away from any social, cultural kind of analysis, and try and weave some of those themes into a musical film.
It's interesting seeing the film again now after Steve McQueen's series was on the BBC.
Yeah.
To see how far ahead you were actually in trying to tell the story musically, and very, very interesting.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, because Martin Scorsese always quotes the first shot as his inspiration, doesn't he? Have you heard that?
Well, the
opening very long,
Well,
backwards and
tracking shot.
Has anybody seen the film called The Players?
So, yes,
Okay.
longest ever as
They
well.
check it in that, don't they?
I felt completely vindicated. The opening of Robert Altman's film, The Player, they're at the 20th Century Fox Studios, and one guy said, "Hey, have you seen Absolute Beginners? It's the longest tracking shot in the history of cinema." So people do appreciate it. Yeah.
They do, and it's weird. I think I last saw it 10 years ago, and then with you at the Sanctum, and then how the world has changed again so much in the last 10 years, and we seem to have gone personally backwards, not forwards. And so seeing that, and it just like resonates in a kind of comic way, how horrible it is now. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's sort of like I think, oh my God, that's still happening. Jesus Christ, why? You know, and there's these people, these horrible people who control us all. Why? You know, and so I sort of, as much as the fun thing, and also the fact, the colour of it. I love the colour of it. It's just, and when I was coming here, because Sue Blaine, isn't it? Because nobody sort of like Sue Blaine, who did the costumes and everything. I mean, she did the Rocky Horror Show. And so, and when you think about it, you think how the Rocky Horror Show is so highly stylized, and then how she's highly stylized in a totally different way. Yeah. Because all those added ingredients make it really. I want you to tell everybody, because this really fascinates me, the editing scenario. The story is really, really important.
Well, I've never seen a film with 4 editors before.
And they didn't, and we were thrown off the film. Sandy was our only defender at the time at Goldcrest, and as soon as we were finished, we were thrown off. And there was it was kind of a vicious
Why?
guy.
I must stop you there just for that second.
Because we were million over, because of the sets.
Because of the money, okay.
We didn't go over schedule.
No.
It was the sets.
Okay.
Which the producers swore us all to secret, don't tell Goldcrest, or the film will never happen. It was kind of dodgy, yeah. Anyway, it was a nightmare, because we all knew that was hanging over.
It wasn't the first time.
No. But yeah, so we were thrown off by, and this guy Alan Marshall, who's no longer with us, but he was a nasty guy, took over, and he had 4 editors, but he wouldn't let them. They were in different parts of London, so they didn't talk about what we were doing, So one guy took the beginning, one guy took the and after about 4 months, we were actually called back. I don't know if you remember this. Over Christmas, they said, you can go in over Christmas. You've got 3 weeks, and see what you can do and try and put it back together. But you can't reprint anything, which was a problem, because the opening shot that we've just been talking about had been cut up into thousands of bits. We don't want that long opening shot. We'll just chop it up, and they'd lost, frames, under the carpet. We were finding them in. So most of the 3 weeks were spent putting that opening shot together. So it's a bizarre story. I think we asked for it in a sense because we hyped the film, and to get it made, we had to show that the story at that time in the British industry wasn't really using young filmmakers. So it's kind of thing of busting in through the gates. And,
you shot the Ray Davies song Firth, didn't you? Before
a year before,
the
yeah.
photography.
At Twickenham, another famous film studio. But yeah, so we hyped it. You know, we got stories in the NME and then the Face, and we'd go into meetings saying, look, they're all talking about Colin McGuinness, absolute Guinness. You know, you've got to make this story of the English teenage. It snowballed, you know. So by the time the film came out, it had already been reviewed by lots of people who hadn't seen it, and there were cartoons in the national press about this is the destruction of the British film industry, which is kind of a nice thing to think you're capable of, but don't think
It wasn't much of an industry to destroy.
What about the other thing I've always led to believe as well? Sorry to ask these different questions. I've always wondered. You shot Eddie O'Connell, who played Colin, on the bridge at the Albert Bridge.
Yeah.
A month or so, or two, or in between the premiere and not the premiere, the first screening and the premiere.
Yes, we did a bit of
fiddling
around, reshoots.
Right.
Whatever.
And was that because this is another thing that I've probably made up in my mind, because MTV was so popular at the time. It was like so many bands made it mainly because of their videos, not the song, the visual. And I always thought it was because MTV, somebody who I don't know who, thought we'll make our money back by it being like a long like a long music video, basically, with all the most fantastic music. I don't know.
I think you just made that up.
Oh, I made it up. It sounds good, though. So I like the idea.
Good story, though.
Oh, yeah. Paul Story did it. I like the Paul Weller song a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, what you mean? He wrote it late.
I think he sent it in late. Yeah.
It's staying.
But when you put that in, what have they said? I mean, out of interest in terms of how these things work, had they said to you, we need more, or we need less, we need outdoors or something?
We always wanted the song, but it hadn't arrived.
Right.
And it's a great song.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a little bit of irony, isn't there? I remember talking to Eddie O'Connell after it was made, and he said he got so drunk every single night after shooting that he used to sleep on the sets.
Yeah, he slept on the sets. He was traumatised by Patsy's treatment of him, really. Patsy thought he was below her, I think, you know. She'd been a Bird's Eye Peas advert star. And Patsy was praying every night while Eddie was drunk, sleeping. She was praying to be famous. He had this weird little shrine. It's very bizarre.
And yet in the film, he says that he doesn't drink. That's the irony.
Yeah, I can see why he drank on the film. And why he slept on the set.
So was there difficult chemistry between your two romantic leads?
There was very little chemistry.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to say, I did want Tim Roth, but he was deemed too old.
They seemed too
Goldcrest, I think. Not Sandy.
Yes, Goldcrest. Yes. Let's ask.
Vetoed Tim
Let's
Roth.
ask. No,
Not to put down Eddie.
No. Well, I think Eddie is much
I
maligned.
never heard that Tim Roth was in the running.
Oh, we had a few in the running.
He was shot, but there was a whole film shoot about 6 months before it was shot. Do you remember? There was a film. People were Tim Roth, all different sorts of people were shot before. That they were in the running for the film.
Suggs, I think, was being mentioned. Matt Dillon, definitely.
Oh my God, Matt Dillon would be good.
New York.
Suggs Eve.
That's going to be great.
Suggs got out of it by breaking his toe, I think.
Well done.
Oh, I love that story. I'll elaborate it. No, I don't know how to elaborate it now, but I will have a think about it. Of course, then his toe was gangrenous. And he couldn't get on set.
It's a typical Suggs excuse.
It is.
Sorry, I broke my toe.
Did you have any ownership of the film as a director to re-edit at your leisure, you know, as it is?
If I go through long periods of unemployment, I do think about it, because Patsy keeps telling me she's got, you know, bankers and oil sheikhs and oligarchs who might have stupid money to Ferret.
Well, let's remake it.
Yeah, we could re-edit it.
Re-edit.
Re-edit. You had hours of film.
No, just remake
No, you
it with
didn't.
everybody a lot older.
Yeah, the dance numbers would be great.
Absolute beginners.
Well, the dance numbers were pretty good fun.
They were wonderful.
Yeah.
He was a great choreographer.
David
David
Chigurh.
Chigurh.
David
His
Chigurh.
assistant Bruno Tony
Became massive.
who's the brandy lodger in Ray Davis's house. Long before Strictly Come Back.
Who was the little girl who nicked the suitcase out of the car? Do you know who she was and where she
It was
got?
very beautiful.
Do you remember who that was?
The little girl on set.
Yeah.
So when they're burning the house, like she goes in the car and she nicks the briefcase with the development of the...
Yeah, no, because and I thought, is she from his daughter? Something like
I can imagine that she...
Yeah. But I couldn't think of who it was, no.
Everyone's somebody's daughter.
Yeah, well, of course.
Someone, I think.
Well, some of them might have known, because there were lots of people who were there, because you knew them and they were friends,
Yeah,
you know, and that's why it was...
I mean, Sandy Shaw was married to Nick Powell, who was one of the
He used to
producers.
come to the
Not
door.
them, I don't think.
He used to
Well,
come
maybe
to
she
the
was.
door. You would go and see him. She would come to the door in her dressing gown. It was
Fantastic. Did she have her shoes on? Or was she barefoot?
big town, bang on. I mean, sadly, he's no longer with us, isn't he?
But Steve Woolley's still about, isn't he?
The ponytail one.
Yeah.
The pony,
Yeah.
the ponytail. Eddie, he didn't say that. The ponytail.
There's no editors. We can't afford 4 editors.
The
Get the
pony.
job done very quickly. Overnight.
Has anybody got any questions?
I've got a question. You sort of alluded to it already, but do you feel that the sort of publicity around the film spiraled out of control?
Totally, yeah. It snowballed, and we were responsible because we pushed it insanely to get it made, and
Do you think ultimately, though, that sort of set you up to fail in a way?
Well,
it didn't help.
I read.
My thing now is I wouldn't talk about anything before you've done it, really.
But I remember being very excited to be asked to be a part of it. And then we hadn't started shooting, and I picked up a copy of Time Out, and it had 20 reasons. Julian hadn't started filming. It hadn't even...
To hate
it said 20 reasons why not to watch Absolute Beginners. And I thought it hasn't been filmed.
And
that's my
Tony
memory.
Elliott is a friend
There were
of
lots of reviews.
Sandy's.
Julie Birchall was really poisonous about it, having not seen it, for
It's
example.
bizarre. So that taints it a lot.
I mean, I don't know how many films get reviewed before anyone's seen it.
That's my memory
Quite
of
unusual.
it at the time, was that it was almost
It was a
like
campaign.
there was this huge publicity around it before it had even been made. It was almost like, you know, expectations were so high. It would be almost impossible to sort of deliver on it.
Well, that was partly as well. Goldcrest was saying we're going to relaunch the British film industry with Revolution, Mission, and this whole...
We almost killed it.
No, you didn't. That's. I have to say that what you actually did was inject a magic that what could, never mind even in the end, but a magic of that things could be. You know, that's taken from us all the time. Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't, you know. And I think, oh my God, no. We have to come to a point where we go, come on, you know, we can. Oh, not got much money, okay, fling that over there, let's do that. Do you know what I mean? Just do it.
But don't you think it was also the pre-runner to making England or London seem groovy? You know, London wasn't really that groovy in the 80s, was it? Because everybody was about New York. It was all about
groovy in the 70s.
Groovy at the end of the 70s.
It was really groovy in the 70s.
Yeah.
in the late 70s, but that's the mid-80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then London was like that. It wasn't a
well, I
cool
thought,
place
you know,
to
I
be.
was making a
Everybody
film.
wanted
I
to
thought I
live
was
in
making a film about
Paris.
the beginning of teenage culture, youth culture, at the end of it. So it's like a mirror, 85 and 58 being kind
Yeah.
of reverse numerals. Because, you know, with punk we had tried to do those things that were kind of put back in the box in the beginning of the 80s. So you know, the film was trying to, you know, to revisit and understand and make powerful again the youth culture that emerged first time really in the 50s. And you know, we have to mention the book. It's a wonderful, wonderful snapshot of London at that time. It's not a very deep psychological narrative, but it's just so evocative of time and how people were feeling. You know, it's a very observational book. But the thing that he says at the beginning, is there's all these kids are sailing down Shaftesbury Avenue on this summer evening like gondolas, and the world is theirs. One day they'll make musicals about this. You know, so that's where I went wrong. But
did you pick up the book and read it and think this will tell our story, or did somebody come to you and say?
No, I read all. You know, the other two.
Yeah, City of Spades,
City of Spades, and sort of Love and Fortune.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know where the footage is if you were to be given the opportunity to re-edit it?
It's in a vault, I'm sure. Most films are. Yeah. No, I'm sure.
I don't know whose vault it's in.
Probably in some rotting white band.
Would you want to? Would you want to rewrite?
If I had nothing else to do, I could engage.
What does it sort of mean that it was on film, that it was actually snipped as compared to what it's like done now? Is that a great big rigmarole? Is there still the stuff? You know, do we still have the machines to be able to do that?
We do.
Transfer it.
Yeah, but it is Dickensian technology. Actually, it was 70mm, bizarrely. Yeah. I saw it in our Radio City musical, which is a funny story because that was the US premiere. And I don't know why, but I've been up all night doing something, and they got me a Concorde. In those days, you get a Concorde.
Oh wow, I like
that. Get me
that.
there for this premiere in the evening in New York, and some guy reading Gaddafi's little green book in the plane. So there's all this mad stuff going on, and it was around the time that Reagan bombed Libya, I think. You know, it was that time, so it was hypersensitive, and they were talking, you know, connected radio, whatever, with JFK. And they wouldn't let them land. So we circled around in a Concorde around JFK while this premiere, you know, I was supposed to be there at 7 o'clock. It was 6:30, I was still flying around in the air. And then, you know, then they finally said they're running out of fuel because the Concorde was up. So they had to land, and they wheeled this guy off. Everyone was saying it's Gaddafi's little green book or whatever, but I think in the end it wasn't. But I had to then get to Radio City Musical in like 20 minutes, and I hadn't got any dollars. It was a crazy expensive suitcase. And I finally got there, and it's a complete, amazing thing to watch it in 70mm, because you saw all the suitcases, the film cases that had been left on set at the back of the shop. You know. Oh my God! The detail is I was like, what am I watching?
And I still love the film. I think the colours and everything is fabulous.
Yeah.
There's some great shots in it.
And the choreography.
Yeah, I love the
fantastic.
Well, all of
Yeah,
those
I
is
think we
great.
should have been That's what.
And nobody, and I love the fact that we're, you know, because David Bowie is such a huge iconic figure to everyone. You know, what was that? He contacted you, didn't he, to do it?
No, I contacted him. But I already worked with him. You know, I've done some videos with him. But I did say, do you want to pay the anti-cloak, Disney anti-cloak or something, some weird thing? He said, yeah. He was going to be a copywriter, like all those rock stars, like Keith Richards. They were all trained to be commercial artists and advertising.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he was obsessed. He loved that book, Ben's Partners. I don't know, what's his name? Ben. Hidden Persuaders. Vance Packard. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was the book. So Ben's Partners was a kind of play on Vance Packard, and that was the fate that David thought he'd avoided. So he was keen to play this person he could have been, which was interesting.
It's rather prophetic, because of course White City has been totally redeveloped. Yeah.
That's what I thought as well. And the little flyover model with the little cars on it. How amazing was that? If you think what's happened.
Looked like Westfield down there.
Yeah. Just like a
Well, that was the
nightmare.
beginning of the Westway, wasn't it? I was assuming.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's funny, all that area around Notting Hill, which was originally built as a kind of Victorian speculative, kind of high-end sort of, you know, housing project for the wealthy and the well-heeled, the successful of London. And it was built on a sort of series of rivers, underground rivers, and the whole thing was very jerry-built. And so, and it was all subsiding all over the place, which is why it kind of fell into disuse and not for its initial purpose.
But it's also great now that the oligarchs put in their swimming pools, the whole terrace is like...
But the Notting Hill that you were focusing on, Colin McInnes was focusing on, and like Sophie was saying, you know, we want to call it the tail end of, was a kind of disruption in itself. I mean, it was not what it was built for. It wasn't the purpose it was built for. And it's only in the last sort of 20 years that the kind of the commercial aspect that somebody in the mid-19th century had a vision for has actually come to fruition. And all these houses that were multi-occupancy were now rankers, single-family unit houses.
I mean, it is, you know, one of the greatest urban planning things in Europe, really. Which is an amazing thing. It's very sad how it's got so many Rasta men around. You know.
No, well, it is a shame. But then again, in that Holland Park back, I can't remember what the street's called, but they were, you know, some of the worst housing in London. All of that around sort of Notting Hill Dale and stuff like that. Yeah, no, it was terrible, and now it's not, and that kind of housing has been eradicated.
I still hang out there because I work there and stuff, and it's really changed out of full recognition, really. Anyway, it's all moved east, as Malcolm McLaren prophesied.
That's right.
Did he say that?
Oh yes, go east, young man.
And yeah, it was so funny. In the 70s and 80s, people would say, "There's a party," and we go, "Hooray!" And we go, "Where?" And they go, "Hackney." And we go, "Oh."
Yeah, that was my party.
Yeah.
But I have to say the film would not have even got to where it got to without Sandy, because he was a great champion. And I think even when we got fired, he was trying to get us back on it, and he was always the only nice guy.
very generous of you to say that.
Well, you've all got to watch Sandy's film.
Yes, what is this all
It's
about?
half the length of the Beatles' Get Back thing. It's 4 hours long.
That's only the first part.
First part, the Boyle Heights years.
What is this?
Street boy of Boyle Heights.
Yeah, what, you must tell me what this is. Is it a document? Are you making a documentary?
No, it's been made. It's been sent to me. I haven't got 4 hours to
Who's
spare
it
of the
made by?
week, but I will watch it at the weekend.
Yeah, who's made it, Sandy?
A guy called Paul Cronin.
American
No,
person.
he's British, but he lives in New York.
Right.
And he does documentaries and writes books about films and filmmakers. And
Oh, I love it. I'll find out your
And
hidden
when is that
depths.
coming out?
it doesn't come out. He just posts it on Vimeo.
Oh,
So
okay.
anybody can watch it.
Okay, so
It's a
we can
global
all watch it on
release.
Vimeo and find out more about Sandy.
That's brilliant.
Oh, that is really brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for coming here. Or have you got another question? Anybody got any more questions?
I was just saying, I really love the fact that you did incorporate into your set studios lots of iconic locations which were real, like the Two Eyes.
It was the most magical
And-
set
and
because it
the
had all the
virtual
best
offices,
bits of
blah, blah,
Soho.
blah. It was really great, and even the way the set was set up was almost recognisable to some degree.
Who was
It's John Beard.
John Beard's the director.
Yeah.
Where?
Where the plaque kept coming up on the side of the building, Percy Shelley. Where is it? I know it, but can you remember where it is?
Broadwick
What
Street.
street it's on?
Broadwick.
Broadwick Street. Thank you very much.
Was Cafe de Paris actually a set?
Bar Italia. They were closing down by. I've got 3 cappuccinos for life in the Bar Italia because I said don't change it. You know,
Yeah, they borrowed
2
the
years later
boxing
they had
side.
1,000 people on the street outside.
Had you worked with Oliver Stapleton before?
Yeah, I've done lots of videos. Yeah.
It's a brilliant, brilliant collaboration.
We were building up to this kind of look through the video, where you could experiment do a lot of things. Actually, I'm having lunch with him tomorrow because they're doing Blu-ray Birth Girls that I did with him in America. So I'm going to see Oliver for the first time in a long time tomorrow.
Okay.
Great.
But your offices, when that was being done, was in Soho, wasn't it?
Yeah, above.
At the time.
It was above. What
Was it Lovejoy's
It was the
or Denny's?
Denny's, the
Denny's.
catering outfit, where all the chefs got their hats.
Yeah.
And their aprons. It was brilliant. It had a roof garden. It had been a nightclub in the 20s. The roof garden still these weird
Was it still there?
trellises, rotting banquettes.
Oh my
on the
God.
roof. Yeah, it's amazing. It's in the film, isn't it? We show it.
Yeah,
night-
you
is
do.
there night
Editing,
tricks?
editing,
Yeah.
How,
Well, I think that's the end.
That is
Thank
the
you
end.
very, very much, all of you,
Well,
for
thank you.
coming. I'm saying all of you for coming, and thank you very much, all of you, for coming and being part of this a very special little chat. There's lots of gossip in there.
there is.
Where that came from?
You've only scratched the surface.
I don't think anybody knows, but Ferret has recently been in a film.
Bloody hell! I wondered what the hell she was going to say.
With Debbie Harry, haven't you?
I have.
There was a premiere just the other day.
It's a previous, not it's a modern collaboration because it was everybody's, Zoom put together with the different, and it's sort of like gone all.
Viral.
It has. But then I suppose it would do if Prue Leith was playing her mother. Because it's sort of what she is. And so therefore, who's only 4 years older than Debbie, because Debbie's science fiction, so therefore you can do what you want. But so it's all about the casting as well. Quite a lot.
You're telling me.
Yeah, no, it is. No, but, you know, as soon as you say Blondie, everyone goes mental.
Yeah, quite rightly.
Quite rightly.
Very fundamental.
Yeah, no, quite rightly. So no, and so it keeps. So the next thing you'll see me in is a documentary with me with no teeth. I used to do it.
Public information.
I used to be. And then you rang, you changed.